Tesla has deployed its first 2 supercharger stations in Morocco, making its first entry into Africa. The Tesla supercharger stations are usually the first sign of Tesla entering a new market. Over the years, the CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk, has talked about Tesla entering the market of his native homeland Africa, especially in his home country of South Africa, but he is yet to fulfill this plan. This does not mean that there are no Tesla vehicles in Africa. In fact, to the contrary, there are plenty of Teslas all over Africa, but they have been imported by individuals who have to jump through 1,000 hoops to obtain these vehicles, usually imported from Europe and America. You can find examples of Tesla vehicles all around the continent, in South Africa, in Morocco, in Kenya, Nigeria, and even in Ghana. Once the vehicles are delivered to Africa, the owners faced a myriad of challenges, including a lack of support centers, a complete absence of the supercharger network, and a complete absence of any navigation information, and even software updates for the owners who have imported the vehicles into Africa. Now, why does this happen? Because Elon Musk hates Africa, of course. It is interesting that Tesla has decided to open its first supercharger stations in Morocco, because this could be a sign of good things to come from the electric vehicle manufacturer. However, only 4 charging stations have been installed, and they are all of the 150 kilowatt variety, which is the previous generation of the Tesla superchargers. So Elon didn't even give us the good stuff. Based on their location in Morocco, many observers in the field have speculated that these superchargers are meant to serve European travelers who visit the African market. Come on, Elon. We can only hope that with the establishment of this new supercharger network, Tesla is planning to invest into the African continent. Finally, Tesla is also doing business with a certain semiconductor company in Morocco called the STMicroelectronics, based right outside Casablanca. This has been speculated as one of the reasons why Tesla has decided to introduce its market presence in Morocco. To this day, the only way an electric vehicle owner could successfully use a Tesla vehicle was by installing a home electric car charging system that have been notorious in being slow because of their lower power delivery capabilities. In the past few months, however, more and more electric vehicle charging stations have been popping up in cities around Africa, perhaps a sign of things to come. Electric cars are important in all markets because, of course, number one, climate change. Lowering carbon emission has been the priority of many countries, and many governments therefore think that electric vehicles could help them achieve this goal quickly and easily. In fact, startups are popping up all around Africa from Cairo to Cape Town that are taking advantage of the gaps in Africa and are trying to fill the niche with all kinds of vehicles, from 2-wheelers to 3-wheelers to huge buses that can carry thousands every day, especially in huge, congested and polluted cities. Africa still lags behind Europe, the USA and even China in the adoption of electric vehicle infrastructure. For example, South Africa only sold 52 electric vehicles in the year 2020 as compared to about 154 in the year 2019, representing only 0.02% of the domestic vehicle sales in South Africa. Hybrid vehicles are trying to fill that gap between the 100% electric vehicle and the normal internal combustion vehicles, but still their adoption has been slow, and most of the early adopters are not taking full advantage of the electric vehicle capabilities that hybrids offer. Nonetheless, many countries around Africa are trying to implement and adopt policies that are going to help in smoothing out the transition from internal combustion engine vehicles to 100% electric vehicles. Perhaps a glimmer of hope for a greener, better African future. Analysts say that they expect that momentum will pick up, especially as the EU has proposed in July 2021 that it will phase out the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles in the year 2035. This is expected to positively impact many African nations that still export the bulk of the vehicles that are sold in in those markets, with estimates of almost 70% of the vehicles sold in Africa being exported from Europe and the big markets in Asia like Japan and China. The EV market is expected to open up jobs in many sectors, especially in the assembly and manufacturing industry, and also in building up new renewable sources of energy and the business opportunities that setting up and running the charging infrastructure will bring. Imagine a clean African city without any of the noise of internal combustion engines and without the pollution that comes as a result of burning fossil fuels. It is truly an environment that the entire African continent should aspire towards. At least there has been an increased interest from African governments into adopting e-mobility solutions. Governments in South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Cote d'Ivoire, and many others are slowly implementing policies that are favoring the importation of electric vehicles over their internal combustion counterparts. The UNEP, through their e-mobility program, has also been helping many African countries come up with creative ways to transition from burning fossil fuels to the renewable future that the world is moving towards. Indeed, there is an argument that phasing out fossil fuels could help African economies emerge stronger and better. And of course, the cleaner environment will be good for everyone. I made a video about how climate change is affecting Africa and about how the adoption of clean renewable sources of energy could actually positively influence the development of African economies. You can find it linked on the pop-up banner. It has been observed that many African countries have not yet set up any policies that signal the end of the sale and manufacture of internal combustion vehicles in their markets. In fact, of the entire 54 African nations, only Cape Verde has followed the European directive to phase out internal combustion vehicles by 2035. Perhaps one of the reasons why Africa has been slow to adopt electric vehicles is because of the expense and the time it takes to set up the charging infrastructure required for the smooth operation of electric vehicles across the continent. Weak electric grids and rampant blackouts around many cities in Africa are truly holding back and have been one of the great reasons behind the lack of public interest in electric vehicles. Indeed, even though most of the electricity produced in Africa is produced from renewable sources, the price of electricity still remains relatively high as compared to Europe and America. With many of the electric grids in Africa already strained by the loads they face today, it remains to be seen how they will react as more and more electric vehicles are added on our roads. You wouldn't want to buy an electric vehicle and be unable to drive it just because there was a blackout last night, now would you? And don't even get me started on some electricity supply companies that switch off their electricity immediately there is a sign of a rainstorm or any weather events. South Africa is better though. It has actually been ranked 5th globally in the ratio of public electric vehicle charging stations as compared to the number of electric vehicles available in the country. There is still an absence of electrification in the vehicles used in heavy industry, especially those used in construction. But I guess this is not just an African problem, but a global one. Hopefully, as the price of lithium-ion batteries continues to drop around the world, more and more manufacturers will deploy electrification in their vehicle fleet, especially because electric vehicles have been proven to be cheaper to run because they do not need constant and continuous maintenance like their internal combustion counterparts. We need to talk about their price because this still remains prohibitively high despite the falling prices of the batteries. In many parts of Africa, it is still more common for people to use public transportation like buses and taxis as compared to owning their own vehicles, which means that the electrification of public transportation could be an important first step in helping Africa bridge the gap between internal combustion vehicles and electric vehicles. Analysts have also shown that the integration of charging infrastructure during the construction of power grids can help to lower their cost in their implementation in the long run. Therefore, as developing countries build out their power grids, it is important that they consider this as an important part of their electric transmission infrastructure and include it in their engineering designs and in their construction. Some examples of startups that are making huge waves in the electric vehicle world in Africa include the ARC Ride that was launched in Kenya that makes 2- and 3-wheel vehicles for Uber Eats and taxi services around Nairobi. A startup by the name Ampersand in Kigali, Rwanda has introduced a fleet of electric taxis around the city and has plans to expand into other East African cities. In Uganda, Kiira Motors has introduced public bus transport services that are now being implemented and used in many parts of Kampala. In Nigeria, Jet Motors has joined hands with GIG Logistics to provide the electrical infrastructure for the transportation of cargo around the cities in Nigeria. Tesla is not the only electric vehicle manufacturer, and therefore investors are encouraged to come into Africa and help Africa to adopt this new technology that has the great potential to change the landscape of many cities. If you like this kind of content and would like to continue staying informed, please consider subscribing. You can also support our independence by buying us a coffee using these links. Thank you. We now have a podcast, the only place where African voices speak science. A link is available in the description. Get some education in your next commute to work. Like this video too, so that YouTube can show it to more people. This is the African Scientist, science from an African perspective. Maybe you can also watch this video that YouTube is recommending to you.